Well, hello, folks. I'm here with Ralph White, the
Yeah.
co-founder of the New York Open Center, but it's now the New Center for Holistic Learning based in New York. And Ralph has sponsored many, many esoteric quests, and you're going to hear a little bit about that. However, we're really excited about the next esoteric quest happening in Switzerland, September 2025. And we've prepared a really, really good slide presentation for everybody. And Ralph's going to take us through a lot of the details. Ralph and Nanette, his partner, have been in Switzerland in August, and they thoroughly checked everything out per usual. Ralph always goes to these locations and gets all the logistics in place so that the event is just like running really, really smoothly. So, Ralph, you
Yes.
must be really excited about getting to Switzerland, huh?
Yes, I'd only been to Switzerland once before when I was 19 years old and hitchhiked through there. I'm trying to get to Italy. So yes, it was, I am. I'm very happy to be going to Switzerland. Switzerland is a place filled with spiritual riches. You know, we're going to start off with Carl Jung's retreat there on Lago Maggiore at Eranos, where so many of the most brilliant minds of the mid-20th century met. We'll be going up to Monte Verita, the mountain of truth, where the counterculture was born, which is just in the mountain or the hills above Ascona, this little village in Italian-speaking Switzerland. And then we'll be going on a 6-day post-conference journey that will conclude in the Goetheanum outside Basel, the great building that marks Rudolf Steiner's extraordinary legacy.
Wow, look, Ralph, that sounds great. I'm going to switch over to our slides so we can take people through all these details.
Yeah.
Okay, so folks, as you can see, it starts the 8th of September, and the logistics are pretty easy to get there. We'll talk about, and by the way, folks, the esoteric.org website is going to have all the sort of travel documentation and all of those logistics. We're not going to get bogged down in all of that. You can always follow it up with all of those details. So take it away, Ralph. Let's have a look at the next
Yes. Okay. Well, you know, esotericquest.org, as Roger was saying, that's where you'll find full details. So we're in process of adding the information, but it will be up there soon. And there's the basic information there at present. So yes, so we're going to begin on Lago Maggiore at Eranos, or Eranos, which was C.G. Jung's one of his primary retreats, his personal retreat at Bollingen. But this one, Eranos, I'm told, has a very similar vibe. And certainly it's right on the lake. It's really like stepping back into another world. You walk off the road down by the lakeside and into a room, and it's Jung himself could be sitting there in like 1948 or something. You are surrounded by his books, leather-bound volumes, the whole place just you can feel that extraordinary gathering, the round table where Jung would meet with so many of the most remarkable spiritual mythological figures, Mircea Eliade, among others, Carl Kerenyi, I believe even Joseph Campbell was there. And yes, it was initially built by a Dutch woman to be a theosophical center. In fact, Alice Bailey was there for a few years, but that didn't last long, and then it morphed into something for with Jung primarily holding forth there. But there you see it. The Eranos Foundation has been going for 90 years. It's not widely open to the public. We're actually pretty privileged to be able to be there. It's of limited size. There we are. That's their or it's a replica of the very table that Jung would sit around with all those remarkable figures. We're going to be going out to that island in the lake that has an amazing history. Garibaldi planned the Italian Revolution there. Russian anarchist Bakunin and I think it was, or was it Kropotkin? They were anyway. This is a fascinating area, you know, just inside the Swiss border from Italy. As we're looking down there, that's Italy down there, but we're in Switzerland. So we'll be there for 2 days at Eranos, tuning into it's a limited accommodation, so some people would be staying actually at the retreat itself. And there's that island there. And some people, I'm not sure where that image comes from. It's not, Eranos is not, doesn't have the that Zen-like look about it. But and also on the left there we have it's a little ahead because Edith Marion is, as you know, we will end the quest at the Goetheanum, and Edith Marion was an English sculptor who worked with Rudolf Steiner and carved some of the remarkable carvings there. But it just gives you, it gives you a sense, and we'll see more pictures later, of the kind of people who were there in the early 20th century in Switzerland doing this work. So yeah, there we go. Journey into the heart of European esotericism and the abode of its 20th century spiritual rebels. That was Monte Verita. And I'm very glad to be honoring these people. Yeah. So let's see. Now, talking of Monte Verita, right? I mean, so we now have, you can see it there. It was quite a gathering. It was back to nature. It was away from the deadening industrialization, the consumerism, the materialism of the early 20th century. The yes, birthplace of the European counterculture, artists, spiritual seekers, escaping materialism, Hermann Hesse. We know Americans would be familiar with Isadora Duncan, the movement person Rudolf Laban, the sociologist Max Weber, many other people. It was an amazing gathering of people exploring things like this, Eastern and Western spirituality. Look at that. Yeah, with all the flower, talk about going to San Francisco with the flower in your hair. They were ahead of the game by about 60 years. That's Monte Verita probably at about 1907, 60 years before the Summer of Love. But Eastern and Western spirituality, yes, vegetarianism, yes, it was to do with escaping the constrictions of the Victorian and Edwardian views of love and relationships. Yes, being more relaxed, attuning to the body. Yes, it is amazing to see nude sunbathing pictures from the early 20th century. And then, of course, a whole new psychology of liberation, the return to nature, the escape from materialism and industrialism. So you can have, yeah, I can remember people's attitude towards men with long hair in the 1960s. What was it like in 1906? I wonder. These were tremendously brave and courageous people who had found this area in southern Switzerland that was inexpensive. Many people there had emigrated to Milan or to the US, and so left property there that could be purchased with these characters like Otto Gross, one of the most remarkable figures there. Jung himself was not at Monte Verita, but of course, Eranos is just a 20-minute walk away down by the lakeside, whereas Monte Verita is on a hill. So you see, these are truly extraordinary figures. And there's a wonderful museum at Monte Verita that has the clothing they wore. They were getting away from the world of starched shirts and, uptight and corsets and, all of that stuff. And engage. And here's one of the most famous people who enjoyed Monte Verita, Hermann Hesse himself. So I'm sure most of us are familiar with him, but we think of those novels, Steppenwolf, The Glass Bead Game, Narcissus and Goldmund, The Journey to the East, Siddhartha. I remember the very first quest, Nicholas Goodrich Clark, who was a professor of Western esotericism, compared the feeling on the very first quest in Český Krumlov in 1995 to the feeling evoked by Hermann Hesse in his book, The Journey to the East. Wow. So, yeah, wonderful people. This is Rudolf Laban here, who is really a pioneer of movement and a founding figure in terms of body-mind awareness in the 20th century. And yeah, these are some of the books that have come out about it. There's not that much in English, but a German friend of mine, Max Ludwig Fischer, who will be with us and who is an authority on Hermann Hesse, he's just published some previously unpublished or untranslated poems of Hermann Hesse. He's been telling me about so many of the remarkable figures that were part of this. And yeah, so there you go, the entrance to it. It was very much back to nature. Well, there's yours truly, You could, we were there on an absolutely beautiful day, and you can just see how God will, so we'll be there. I think most of us, I think, will be able to stay at Monte Verita. And so there you have, it was built in the Bauhaus style. So it's actually very simple in its structure. There's no long lot of bells and whistles. But
Good.
that terrace that right in the middle of the picture there, that is such a wonderful terrace looking out. Well, that's where those prior photos were taken, looking out over the lake. It's an absolutely gorgeous location. We'll be there during the day. Then in the evenings, we'll be going down to Ascona, to the village, for dinner and perhaps for some performances. And so that's, yeah. So it's a beautiful lakeside town. And
So Ralph, and that's where the faculty are doing most of their presentations, yes?
at Monte Verita, yeah, Monte
Yes.
Verita itself, that is where the main meeting room is, the breakout rooms. That's where breakfast and lunch will be, etc. So yeah, that's
And
our
of,
main location.
and of course, all of those subjects and topics will be published on the
Yeah,
esoteric.org
yeah.
website later. But,
Yes.
we have probably well and truly over 20 presentations,
Oh,
probably
well,
12,
yes.
15 faculty members, like.
Yeah, the way we do it is that, there are presentations, talks in the mornings usually. Then we have some free time to enjoy the beauty of nature, some gorgeous valleys there in the Alps. Or trips to the island. Then we have workshops in the late afternoon. And then we'll be down in the town or village of Ascona for dinner in the evening. So yeah, that's how it works. And we'll be covering a broad range of topics. For instance, one of the figures more familiar to the English-speaking world would be D.H. Lawrence. D.H. Lawrence's wife, Frieda von Richthofen, and her sister were regulars at Monte Verita. So where did some of Lawrence's ideas come from around sexuality and so on? So anyway, this is part of the work. It's an important part of the work of the Esoteric Quest. It's to bring alive these half-forgotten periods of Europe and the West's spiritual culture. And so this is a truly neglected world, known mostly to Central Europe. In fact, I'm told my friend Ludwig Max Fischer, the Hermann Hesse expert, he told me there have been, I think did he say 2 documentaries and maybe a new book written in German around Monte Verita. So that culture is really awakening to the significance. And so I'm going to see if we can bring some people down, because the Swiss transportation system is fantastic, the trains, etc. So see if we can bring in some of these new filmmakers and authors who can update us on just how rich a cultural ferment it was in Monte Verita. So
Wonderful.
here, yeah, we'll be going through. This is I don't know if we're going to see this very site, but we will definitely be spending time in the Alps. And
So after the conference, that's when we go on our 6-day,
yeah. So
conference
that's
journey.
right. So we'll leave Monte Verita on the 14th, I think it is 14th or 15th. And then we will go, into the mountains for a couple of days, then down to Lucerne. You can see Lake Lucerne. We'll certainly take a boat ride on the beautiful Lake Lucerne. It's a medieval city. You can see an old bridge there. You can see some of the old buildings. That's an old apothecary. And yes, it's a very atmospheric place. That's a restaurant, you can just get a feeling for the atmosphere of Switzerland. And from some of these shots, yes. Then we'll make our way to Basel. This is actually the train station in Basel. And Basel itself is a very interesting place. I think I mentioned we hope to do a walking tour in the footsteps of Paracelsus, the great Swiss alchemist and healer from the Renaissance or late Middle Ages. So you can get a sense of some of the architecture there. And now here is where we will conclude the unique and impressive building that marks the center of the worldwide anthroposophical movement, founded by Rudolf Steiner. Now, we're unusual on the Quest in honoring both Jung and Steiner, that, many people don't put them in the same breath. but I'm a fan of both. To me, Jung is the great psychologist, the great healer of the soul, psychotherapist, and Steiner is certainly one of the great, if not the greatest, spiritual philosopher. Really, his work, he produced 6,000 lectures, I think over 300 books, and certainly had one of the most remarkable and profound minds. In terms of a holistic legacy, of course, I think I mentioned earlier, biodynamic agriculture that is worldwide now, Waldorf schools that are everywhere. But in addition to that, he had the deepest esoteric writings on the nature of higher worlds, the spiritual realms, what our role is in the cosmos, how we evolve, how we grow personally. So he was a practical man who left those very, very practical legacies, but he was also a spiritual researcher and seer and philosopher of the highest order, with enormous intellectual acumen, massive breadth of knowledge, and a very beautiful heart, a person of the highest integrity. So yeah, I mean, he was one of those guys who could do everything. He designed, well, the first Goetheanum was burnt down through an act of arson. It was a wooden building around 1922-23. So this new one was built later. It's not combustible that way, but this is it is the Goetheanum. So while I was there, I just saw this quote on the wall: "One alone does not help, but rather he who unites with others," or we might say she who reunites with others at the right time. So this is, talk about a right time. I mean, I think this is a pretty right time for us to unite with others, with our fellow esoteric questers. And so here's the entrance, these beautiful carved doors. You see the building itself. It's this is some of the
Surrounded by beautiful artwork.
yeah, the deep esoteric art. That's the main auditorium. We probably will be able to go in there, but as you can see, it'll fit 1,000 people. And there are great carvings in there, what's kind of called the representative of humanity. And yeah, and now here
So
we are.
Ralph, this is going to be a full circle for you, because it's actually the 30th anniversary of the Esoteric Quest, which started, I think you told me it started down in Bohemia in Český Krumlov
Yes,
50
that's right.
years ago.
1995. You see it on the right there. You can't, it's a little faded, but it says the Rosicrucian Enlightenment, the Western mystery tradition in Bohemia. Exactly 30 years. I can't quite, but I'm pretty sure it was September 8th to 13th, 1995.
Wow. So 30 years to the day.
Yeah, in Český Krumlov, the southern Bohemian mecca of alchemists. And as I've said many times, I invited everybody I knew who admired in the Western tradition, and everybody said yes to this obscure, forgotten little town that had been behind the Iron Curtain. So yeah, that's how it all started. Now look at what's gone on since. The mysteries of the North in Iceland, an esoteric quest to the south of France in Carcassonne, the troubadours, the Cathars.
And this is just a small sample of what you've done over the last 30 years.
Yeah, Arabic and medieval Sicily, and ancient, of course, Greek Sicily as well. So,
well, folks, as you can see, the website is going to be thoroughly updated with the brochure and all of the faculty members, all of the scheduling, and anything all of those details we'll be able to get to you. Final words, Ralph, about the 2025th 30th anniversary.
Well, I think it's going to be deep and beautiful. First of all, it's absolutely gorgeous in that part of the world. So who doesn't look forward to that? But I have got great joy and nourishment over the decades now by this work of re-excavating, bringing alive again these forgotten eras, whether it was the alchemists in Renaissance Bohemia, the Cathars in the south of France, or indeed these pioneers of the counterculture and others like Jung and Steiner doing this extraordinary work in Switzerland in the 20th century. So for me, I've just felt the 30th anniversary, we should do something special. And when because they're all special, but I mean, when I lit upon this and saw how we could include these major figures and how little known it is in our English-speaking world, I just thought this is very appropriate for the 30th anniversary. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, we'll just we'll be filling, we will, but we're still filling in details, but the website esotericquest.org has the basics in there, but we will be placing, the full schedule and all of that over the next month or two. And yeah, we've got good lead time. And also we'll do various events, online events with some presenters who will be with us. We'll have some individual sessions, 1 or 2 hour sessions with some of our faculty around the spiritual and cultural richness of this quest.
Yeah, folks, if you are listening to this, make sure you get onto the newsletter, the database for esotericquest.org. You'll be able to sign up on the website, because there are some more, special events, and special interviews coming up before September next year. And there's always going to be early booking discounts.
Yes,
So watch this space.
Yes, we hope to have registration open as early as February. And of course there will be early registration discounts for those who can participate or commit at that point. And of course you can do all kinds of combinations. You can just do the conference proper, you can do the pre and the conference, or you can do the whole 12-13 day thing, which many people do.
And you generally fly into Milan, yeah?
Yeah,
Milan,
I think for most people, yes, for most people, the simplest thing will be to fly into Milan.
And then it's just like a simple train.
Yeah, well, we'll plan it so there'll be buses meeting people at the airport in Milan. It's about.
I thought I might mention it because it's a good excuse to go to Milano for 2 or 3 days.
Well, exactly. Yeah, we spent a day in Milan and loved it. The people were so, well, it couldn't have been more charming, really, from the moment we got there to the moment we left.
And so essentially, we're starting in the south of Switzerland, the Italian part, we get into the central part, and then we end up in North Switzerland, more the German-speaking part. So we really are taking in, the history, cultural essence of Switzerland. So
yes, that's exactly
well done. What a great plan and a great idea.
Well, I never imagined that.
Switzerland.
I never imagined that this would all keep going for 30 years when I did that first one in Bohemia in 1995. But we're onto something deep here. This is a unique program. Nobody does anything like it anywhere in the world.
That's right.
So,
yeah. Okay, folks. Well, thank you, Ralph.
All right. Thank you, Roger.
Keep in touch, everybody. And make sure you get onto the newsletter, because we will have some other interviews with some of the, we got some of the most amazing faculty members, and their presentations are just very, very special. So you'll be hearing a lot more about the faculty later. But for now, that's great, Ralph. Thanks.
Yeah, we didn't talk much about the faculty, but for those who've not been on a quest, we always do our best to get the most knowledgeable and engaging faculty that we possibly can. It's going to be a very rich lineup of presenters and performers. So yeah. Good.
Thank
Okay,
you,
Roger. Thanks, mate.
Okay.
Okay, all the very best.
Yeah.